What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. My name is Adam Palmer. I am your host. This is the Hobby News Daily Morning Minute. Today is Friday, July 18th. And on today's episode of the podcast, we are going to be talking about a change to eBay that I think is really good. We're now 12 days away from the National, and my tip for today is going to be when you get to the show and you're doing your first walkthrough, if you see cards at a specific booth that you like, make sure you write down that booth number because trust me, I've been to this venue at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center, and the chances that you're going to remember what booth you saw a card at is almost impossible. You're going to see tons of cards and tons of booths. So make sure if you see a card that you want, write that booth number down before you walk away. We are now getting more info from eBay about some of the things that they're trying to do to help the sports card community fix maybe some of the problems. And I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I've been one of the I don't know if I would say the biggest critic of eBay, but like I definitely criticize eBay a lot because I think with it being one of the biggest platforms, sports cards have to be one of the biggest marketplaces, or it has to be one of the biggest marketplaces for sports cards in the world. And sports cards on eBay, it just has to be a significant part of their revenue. I just can't see how any other industry or any other way that people are selling anything on eBay there could be more of any type of thing than there are sports cards. A couple weeks ago, they announced they're going to be trying to launch the extended auctions. So, like, if someone puts a bid in within the last 2 minutes, it gets extended. I believe it's the last 2 minutes. But if someone puts a bid in towards the end of an auction, what ends up happening is that the auction gets extended, which I think is good for it's good for sellers, not maybe so much for buyers, people who are trying to snipe and maybe find deals that way, unfortunately. But one of the things that they recently did, Neon Cards and Comics, I think they're a really great content creator, one of probably the better on YouTube, and they put some great stuff on Twitter too, which is where I found this. They put out an image kind of talking about that eBay is now asking for phone numbers to verify certain accounts, which I hope that would mean that you can't have multiple accounts with the same phone number. And if you can have multiple accounts, maybe it's going to be less than 5. Because, like, granted, you could probably have an eBay account for your parents or your son or daughter, and you want to use the same email or you want to use the same phone number. I think that's fairly reasonable. But adding that phone number in, what that doing is it's adding an extra layer of security to the auctions, because what ends up happening is that when you can't have somebody with 0 or you can't have somebody with like 5 feedback going on to an auction and just bidding the card up, I think that's a big deal, because that's one of the things that I have found, in my opinion, that I think is one of eBay's biggest issues. And I think it's one of the biggest issues within the sports card industry as a whole. It's going to be shill bidding on auctions, mainly on eBay, because I don't know how you'd be able to, like on Golden or Heritage. I don't think you would be able to shill bid. I mean, granted, I don't do that, so I don't know. Maybe there are ways to do it, but on eBay, that's where the biggest issue occurs. I mean, that was one of the reasons why PWCC got kicked off of eBay, was because of shill bidding. Which, if that was the case, I don't think the PWCC, in my opinion, didn't get kicked off of eBay because there was problems with shill bidding on their account. Now, there has been some issues with Alt and PWCC, but I think what happened was PWCC was going to launch their own marketplace, which they did, which then ended up getting bought by Fanatics Collects, interestingly enough. So I think that's really why eBay caught wind of this and they wanted to get ahead of the situation, and they kicked PWCC, in my opinion, off a little bit prematurely. PWCC was probably one of their best customers in terms of like how much commission eBay and seller fees and all those things were getting. So for them to come out and say, like, so long ago, and this was actually like this was a while ago, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, but to come out and say that we're not going to let them be on the platform because of that reason, just to me, it was not the case. I just didn't see that. Especially, I'm not going to name any other names. If you listen to other episodes of the podcast, you've heard me name names on places where shill bidding still occurs on the platform. But if eBay is making you add a phone number to your account or to a new account, I think that's going to add an extra layer of security, which I think is really great for people in the sports card industry who are trying to buy cards fairly. And ultimately, that's, I think, like I said, one of the biggest issues with eBay is the shill bidding that goes on. And I mean, I remember I was trying to buy a Luca card a while ago, and it was like a select PSA 10 of one of the more rare select cards. And it had been sold 4 or 5 times. The same exact card sold 4 or 5 times on eBay. And there's just no, and I think at some point they should probably say, hey, you can't sell this anymore if it's the same seller. Like once or twice, you could chalk that up as like maybe a mistake by a buyer or, any different reason. But in my opinion, once you're selling a card 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, which is that occurs if you're looking for certain cards. Trey Young, for example, is another player that has had a lot of shill bidding on his cards. I just don't think that's something that should go on. That's something that eBay should be flagging especially now that they have so much. You have to put in so much detail when you are listing a card that it's like as soon as the same PSA certification number gets listed 4 or 5 times, eBay should probably be like, hey, maybe I don't know, you can't sell that. That's how I would see it, honestly. And it's not even selling it from different sellers. If different sellers are selling it, that's fine. But when I was looking at certain cards, they were being sold by the same seller. I even would probably go a step further and say you have to almost like level up your account. And this may be maybe this is a dangerous concept, but like I think that if you are buying cards or you're buying certain things on eBay at certain values, you should have to have a certain amount of feedback or a certain amount of purchases on your account. Now, obviously, there's bots and there's stuff that people probably get around that, but it's like I just have seen too many times if you go to listings on eBay, there's accounts that are shilling up a card and they have zero feedback or they have two feedback and it's like $1,000 card. Like it's not cards that are and there are probably cards that are in the I don't know tens of hundreds of dollars this is happening to. But like if a card is selling for a certain amount, like this is sort of the thing I think eBay should maybe either test or I don't know. In my opinion, they should implement. I think it's a great idea. You have to have bought a certain amount, or your account has to be a certain amount of an age, or you have to have a certain amount of feedback on your account to put in a bid for an item that's I don't know over a certain amount. Like they should almost bracket it or make it so it's like if you have over a certain amount of feedback, you can bid on certain items. Now, like I said, I think that could be a dangerous concept. Just from like a logistics standpoint, and I don't know, maybe there's some legal stuff there that eBay isn't allowed to not let people buy stuff. But at the same time, I just think that there should be a way that they can monitor buyers, because I think that monitor buyers and sellers. Because also I think sometimes the thing is like, there's no way to really stop this, but one of the things that definitely occurs on eBay is people will buy a card that from someone that they know just to get another bid in there or just to get another sale in. And obviously that's really horrible and that shouldn't happen. And it's probably a hard thing to stop, but it's like when these things are known, so shill bidding, bidding to people and not selling the card really, like these certain things, people know about them. So it feels like there should be a way to fix them and change the way that eBay does does their protocol on some of those things. Now, I'm not a logistics guy, so I don't know necessarily what they could do. But I think adding the phone number into your account and making sure you're verified as a user is a great step in the right direction, in my opinion.